What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode, another day of 30 NSG. On today's show, we're going to be talking about Sea of Thieves. You need a Microsoft account to play Sea of Thieves on the PlayStation 5. We're going to talk about the Sony is laying off 900 PlayStation employees. We're going to talk about Helldivers 2. What's the fail or pass problem inside that game, what people are talking about. And then we're also going to watch Force Gaming. We watch a lot of Force Gaming stuff here, and because he makes good videos. I'm interested in the last Epoch, and I know a lot of you guys are playing it out there. And he has a video. It's about 18 minutes long, talking about the last Epoch and his experience and stuff in it. So we're gonna watch that, and we'll pause and we'll talk about it as we go. That's what we are doing on today's show. If you like what we do here, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you like to go above and beyond that, become a member as little as $5. We're here Monday through Thursday talking about news stories, having conversations with chat. We also do uploads on this channel. We also do gameplay. Last night we played a game called Star Trucker, and we also played some Helldivers. If you'd like to go see those, you can go check out those videos. We also are doing updates on our GXG podcast. I was like 12 episodes behind on the audio formats over on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Anchor.fm, anywhere else you can listen to a podcast. Those are being uploaded. 4 new episodes, or 4 past episodes were uploaded yesterday. 4 more today, 4 more tomorrow, leading up to the newest episode, which is Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, right here on 30 NSG. What's going on, Dolphin? What's going on, Kylo? John Water Bear, Dave Rose, Krebsy, what's going on? So, it's interesting about what's happening. Not really that interesting. I mean, obviously, it's interesting because we talk about video games and whatnot, about the Sony layoffs. I mean, obviously, you know, it's never a good sign when people lose their jobs and never make lightly of it. But I always find it funny that when one company does it, right, and this is me generalistically talking about the internet that always makes fun of stuff like this, where one company fires people, right, and the other company fires people, and they're like, see, these guys are bad. They buy companies and they close down, and then these guys do the exact same thing, but it's not as bad, right? Like, they always put some sort of value to it as far as, well, these guys said 1,600, these guys did 900. So it's always funny to me that businesses are businesses. When you corporately shill for a company, they're exactly the same as the other company that you're rooting for. Okay? Hence why I'm just a gamer. I enjoy my games. It sucks. I've been on the receiving end of being fired through stuff like this. I've also, you know, been on the opposite side watching people when I'm in a company of people getting fired like this. And it's never fun for anybody. But at the end of the day, business is business. And that's why people say business is business. Last week, we talked about how Sony lost $10 billion. And everyone's like, it's not a big deal. I'm like, they're going to be losing jobs. Okay. Embracer Group's doing this. Microsoft is doing this. Amazon's doing this. All these corporations are doing this because they have to make... This has to keep going up. And if there's a bump, a speed bump of making this go down a little bit, they're like, well, how do we recover? Well, let's cut a bunch of employees so then this goes back up. And that's what happens. What's going on, We the People? What's going on, Clips? So, it's insane to me that everyone thinks that, like, more is going to happen. More is going to happen. And we're going to read an article, but before we even get to the Sony stuff, okay, I want to read, because the real big story is that you have to have a Microsoft account to play Sea of Thieves. Not really. But you'll need a Microsoft account to play Sea of Thieves on PlayStation 5. And I looked through Twitter as I saw this article, and I haven't read the article yet. We're going to read the article with you guys. But this is how I find stuff, right? I go to Twitter, I find articles that are written, and then I look at the comments of that article. And people are like, well, I'm not going to play it then, right? Because they won't sign up for a Microsoft account, but they'll sign up for an Ubisoft account, a Square Enix account. They'll sign up for all these other accounts to sign up games. But it's a problem when a third-party publisher from their other competitors are coming over now, right? So it says you'll need a Microsoft account to play Sea of Thieves on the PlayStation 5, and you won't lose your hours when playing on PlayStation 5. It says Sea of Thieves will require you to have a Microsoft account to play the game on PlayStation 5. The information comes straight from the title's official listing on the PlayStation Store, leaving no doubt that it has a veracity of the requirement. So I want to kind of like zoom in here for a second so we can read this. It says Microsoft account registration accepted if Microsoft service agreement and privacy statement require to play the game. Okay. It says since Microsoft account is mandatory in this instance, existing users looking at play Sea of Thieves on the PlayStation 5 won't have to worry about the loss or the progression. On the flip side, new players coming into the world from Sony's side would have to take a few minutes to sign up, right? I had to jump through like 10 fucking hoops to sign up for Final Fantasy 14. Right? That was the biggest turnoff for me. I was like, ugh. And it wasn't because I didn't care about signing up. It was just page after page of information that I had to sign and things to read and stuff. And I was just like, I just want to play the game, right? So I think it's funny when you have to sign up for stuff like that. Anyway, it says this year has marked the beginning of Xbox multi-platform as we've seen exclusive games being ported to other platforms, which I think is kind of weird when they say this is the beginning. Yet I don't know how we, Microsoft has already had, yes, I understand Minecraft was already on the other platforms, but when they get bought up and it's been Microsoft for like 10 years, how does this start the point of multi-plat? I just don't get it. But anyway, aside from Sea of Thieves, various other games have been announced and rumored for the PlayStation and Nintendo Switch release. Amongst confirmed names are Grounded, Pentiment, and last year's Shadow Drop hit Hi-Fi Rush. Now, Xbox multi-platform strategy had several rumors surrounding it before the official business podcast clarified things, while it's also been ruled out altogether, as now titles like Starfield, Indiana Jones, and more are not going to arrive on the competitor's hardware. Furthermore, there was also talks about Xbox saying farewell to consoles amongst all the other rumors. This is all just bull crap to fill the article because they get paid by the word. So, look, I don't think this is a big deal. Just like I said, in Ubisoft games, you have to sign up for an Ubisoft account. For EA, you have to sign up for an EA account. For Square Enix, you have to sign up for a Square Enix account. For an Epic game, you have to sign up for an Epic account. And now, those are all third-party companies going on that title. And they're like, well, if you're going to play this game, you have to sign up for here because they want to make a list. They want to make a list of email list of people who they can subscribe to, who they can send information out to. And Microsoft's that's the Trojan horse, basically, right? They're like, hey, we're throwing this game over here, but if you want to play this online live service game, we're going to need your information, okay? Just so in the background, we're like, hey, if you like Sea of Thieves, you might like some other games like this, right? And this is why companies do things like this. This is not, like, anything wrong with what they're doing. I mean, technically, it is kind of wrong. I don't like to sign up for stuff like that myself. But sometimes you have no choice. If you want to play that game, you're like, well, I'm going to sign up. I do this all the time when I have to go through like NDAs or I get like betas or alphas or anything like that. You have to sign up for all these things just so they can get you in the ecosystem behind the scenes for those. So obviously this is just a thing. I saw on Twitter people were going, oh, I'm not signing up then because they want. Then don't play the game. You didn't play it for 5 years, so they don't really care if you play it now, right? One person, there's a tissue, pull it out. There's another tissue. So yeah, not a big deal. Sea of Thieves coming to PlayStation 5, which is awesome. More people get to play. And if you don't want to sign up, then don't sign up. All right, let me see what you guys are saying in chat. Good morning, we the people. Xtor. Yay, fanboy wars. That's right. For what people I know, this is a lot of DEI jobs that are also a huge part of the numbers layoff-wise. Not to get into the woke/not woke debate, but this does seem to be a lot of the jobs are community-related. I don't know if it has to be. I mean, you have to get the low on the totem pole, right? You got to cut the fat. And if you have developers that are taking, and you want to follow your developers, right? You still want to make the quality of the project, of the things that they're doing. You got to get rid of other people, right? And they'll probably hire those people back. They just have to lower the costs of the stuff right now because the financial boards are looking at it going, well, how do we cut $30 million of profit? They're like, well, I have an idea. We can just get rid of all of these other people that we don't need yet, the paper pushers and stuff, right? And again, I'm being very generalistic. I don't know who actually got fired. You're just telling me in chat who got fired. I didn't look or read the story yet. So not really too sure who of the 900 people got fired or where they're coming from. I did see some tweets of people saying that Insomniac and a couple of people from Insomniac and whatnot did get fired. Now, I don't know if those are higher ups. I don't know if those are mid-tier people. I don't know if there's a janitor. I don't know who it is. Come on, Dave Rose. Exactly. I don't think anything to do with the fanboy stuff. I just want to play the game, not sign up for a cramp and get spammed with emails. When I was signing up for Final Fantasy 14, I was like, come on. Like, how many things do I have to sign and click? And it's very cumbersome when you're signing up for something on the consoles, right? Like, use the controller and going, using the keyboard. Like, I hate it. I hate signing up for stuff. What's going on, Argus? The sky is falling at Sony. Yeah. We'll talk about that in just a second. There are very little games you don't have to make an account for these days, right? Dolphin says, yeah, people are also pissed about having to have a Microsoft account to play. No shit. How else would you going to progress transfer, you dumbass? Right, exactly, Dolphin. Need to give a layoff some time to cook and more info to come out. Literally, like 2 hours old. Sure, but we're going to read the article. Doesn't matter to me. I'm just reading the article. Right? Obviously, it's my thoughts on the article. It's not my thoughts on the entire product. This is the information that we have in front of us. I will read it and give you my thoughts on what we have here. And as it changes, we'll have another article, and then we'll talk about that article as that comes out. And I know you're not talking to me, Krebsy, in general. I know you're talking about yourself. But so let's go into this, right? Me and Sarge talk about it all the time, about companies can't keep continuously growing. This is why they keep adding more stuff. If it's talking about adding 3-day early access, 5-day early access, battle pass, microtransactions, DLCs, whatever it is, right? They're trying to double dip, triple dip, quadruple dip into making you get more money because they need to keep doing this. Okay. So this morning, as I was eating breakfast, I was like literally eating my hash browns. I was like, whoa. I was like, Sony's laying off 900. Oh my goodness. Right? So Sony is laying off 900 PlayStation employees, and Sony PlayStation London Studios is closing down as part of the layoffs. Just off that title, right? Just off that title. All the people are like, Microsoft buying companies up and closing studios down. This is bad. Sony doesn't do this. Sony doesn't do this. Sony doesn't do this. Right? Again, when you put a t-shirt on to fanboy for your corporation that you have no part of because you're just a gamer, you look stupid because corporations are going to do what corporations do, and corporations want to make money, and to make money they have to make a product, and that product has to make enough money, and if it doesn't make enough money, well, then you have to let people go, and those are people that lose their jobs. This happens every single year, all the time. This is not new this year. This is like living in Florida. This is that thing that happens when a shark attack happens and there's a slow news cycle happening, and then everyone talks about how many sharks are attacking people on the beach. Okay? Sharks attack people on the beach all the time. You don't hear about it because there's other things going on in the world, and we only can absorb so much, right? Every year there's layoffs. Yes, not 900 or closing studios, but it happens every single year. So let me do this article from The Verge from Tom Warren. Okay. It says, Sony says it's laying off around 900 employees, and if PlayStation division is reduction of global headcount around 8%. Okay. Now, that's a big chunk. 8%. Doesn't sound like a lot, right? Okay. Sony's layoff will impact a variety of PlayStation studios, including Insomniac Games, Naughty Dog, Guerrilla Games, and Fire Spirit. Okay, Sony's layoffs are the latest in the wave and has been impacting the gaming tech industry throughout 2024. I mean, obviously, it was in 2022, and it was also impacting in 2023, and then we also get 2024. Okay, here's the thing that I looked at, but just in paragraph 1, what's happening right now in the gaming industry, Sony's being very, like, they're winning right now with Helldivers. Helldivers, I'm enjoying. A lot of people are enjoying. That's what they're looking at. I don't think the budget, and we don't know the budget, okay, but the budget of Helldivers is not the budget of, Last of Us, God of War, Spider-Man, right? It's also a live service game where people can make other money. It's a smaller chunk of change to pay for, $40, right? $60 if you want the higher tier pack for the cosmetics and whatnot, and become a super citizen, I think it is, right? So they're looking at this, and you better believe that Sony's looking at what Helldivers is doing right now and going, well, this is very successful. What can we do for more of this? Remember, they were doing 12 live service games, which then they cut down to half of that to 6 right now, just to focus on 6. They still have 12 planned, okay? But they're only working on the 6 for right now to see what happens. Helldivers coming out, boom, hit. Foam Stars, not so much. Okay, so one of two. It's a really good 50-50 chance right now. 50% is successful, 50% not so successful as of right now. Okay, so as they're moving forward, you better believe they're making changes. We read an article the other day about the PSVR 2 trying to start using PC games and whatnot. Why is Sony doing this? Because they need to make more money. Okay, everyone, that 54 million people that buy a PlayStation 5, that's not enough. Right? They need 100. They need 120. They need 130. They need 150 million people buying a PlayStation 5. And if they can't do that, they have to find other ways to make money. Well, Helldivers came out day and date on PC. It's making a crap ton of money for them from the PC side. So you better believe more and more as we get closer to their next first-party title single-player game, it will be day and date on PC. But these are just my thoughts, right? It says, quote, "We have made extremely hard decision to announce our plans to commence and reduction of our overall headcount globally by 8% by 900 people, subject to a local law and consultation process," says PlayStation chief Jim Ryan. Is Jim Ryan still around? Employees across the globe, including our studios, are impacted. Now, several PlayStation studios are affected, with Sony closing its London studio in the UK, which developed PlayStation VR games. Sony Firespirit studio, which also is impacted, is the British studio behind the PlayStation VR Horizon Call of the Mountains game. Sony revealed last week that they're also working on a PSVR 2 support for PC. Interesting. Okay. In a separate note, Herman Holtz, head of PlayStation Studios, confirmed that US-based studios like Insomniac Games, Naughty Dog are also affected, alongside Sony's Guerrilla Studios based in the Netherlands. Overall, employees across America, Japan, and EMEA and the APAC regions will be impacted. Okay. It says, quote, "After careful consideration, many of the leadership discussion over the several months, it has become clear changes that need to be made and continue to grow the business and development of the company," says Ryan in an internal email to PlayStation employees. I'm confused. I'm really confused. Why is Ryan doing all of this? Didn't he retire? Isn't there another guy in Hiroki Totoki in the lead position right now? I'm a little confused by this, but let's continue reading. "We had to step back and look at our business historically and move forward, focusing on long-term sustainability of the company and delivering the best experiences possible for our community." Okay, and you could read into that, right? Obviously, the best experience for their people is different than their best experiences for their people and also make money. Okay, they're not making enough money with the people that are experiencing their stuff, so they have to look elsewhere to try to make money. Now, the layoffs come just days after Sony missed a PlayStation 5 sales target, which led to Sony's stock price plummeting to about $10 billion. While the PlayStation 5 outlook wasn't what Sony was expecting, analysts also pointed towards a near-decade-low games margin, suggesting that the cost of making games is eating into Sony's gaming margins. Now, I've talked about this. Jim leaves Friday. Okay. So we talked about this in the past of the margins. They need to make more money, okay? And they're having problems doing this. Well, I talked about how Microsoft, the way they're getting around this is that they're not making 90s, 95 games. And again, this is just me talking. Like, how much does it cost to make a score overall in the 90s compared to a game that costs an 89? Okay? Like, if you throw a 200 million or 300 million, does that get you over a 90? But if you throw in at 250, 200, 190, 180, can get you an 89, an 88, an 85 score. You know what I'm talking about? Okay? So companies look at and go, well, what about if we stop making AAA games are anything over $75 million for that game? Okay? It has nothing to do with anything else other than the budget of the game. Over $75 million and above is a AAA game. So if they can get their AAA games where they maintain the price of around, let's say, $100, $150 million, okay, and that gets them like an 80, mid-80s, low 80s, somewhere in the 80s, below 90, above 80, somewhere in the range of there. And that's more cost-effective for them to make a game like that and also get to put on a service like Game Pass, day and date, where people buy it up, okay? That's a much more manageable game than putting 300, 350 into that game, right? We read we read reports about what they potentially could do with the next Spider-Man. Again, potentially. We're not saying they're doing this, but the next Spider-Man 3 that comes out, or the next God of War, they could break it up to make more money because they can't make the money if it's a $350, $400 million game that's coming out. To make that money back, they need to sell 7, 8, 9, 10 million copies, and that's unsustainable for any company, right? Because you need to try to limit yourself. Well, okay, well, let's put 150 million, and if we only sell 2 million copies or 3 million copies, it pays itself off, and they can make the next version of that game, and it works out for them. Sony president Hiroki Totoki discussed the opportunity to grow PlayStation games on PC earlier this month, too. It also looks like it's throwing more resources at its PC and mobile effort, delivering the sustaining social online experience, allowing PlayStation gamers to explore the worlds in different ways, as well as launching games on additional devices such as PC and mobile. Requires a different approach and different resources, says Holtz. Okay, so here's Tom Warren. It says, here's a Sony president, Hiroki Totoki, discussing the opportunity to grow PlayStation games. And this was from a couple days ago. Okay. It says the game industry has been hit by waves of layoffs recently. In 2023's greatest games were overshadowed by the dark cloud of layoffs. I'll be honest with you. I think the majority of people that play video games have no idea this is happening. No idea this is happening. Right? I think in this circle, people that watch YouTube, which is a lot of people, but they're not all watching video game related stuff. They don't really care. They don't even know that Microsoft bought Activision Blizzard, to be honest with you, right? There's a lot of people that don't know anything of this stuff going on. So when it says was overshadowed by the dark cloud of layoffs, a lot of people don't even know about this stuff. So I would have to say like more minute of inside the gaming circle, the people that follow this stuff, yes, it was overshadowed, right? So around 8% of the overall Microsoft gaming division, Unity, also laid off about 25% of its workforce last month, and Discord laid off about 17% of its employees. Okay, so here's the full memo from Ryan. He says, team, it's important to provide you with the updates about the business and often as possible. Okay, today we're writing this with sad news through the discussion over the past few months about the evolving economic landscape, changes in the way we develop, distribute, and launch products. We're assuring that organization is future-ready and rapidly changing industry. Now, those are huge words coming, okay? Reassuring that organization, okay, is ready and rapidly changing the industry. I'm telling you, live service games, cloud gaming is moving faster and exponentially faster. Okay, and they're all trying to make that change. They're all trying to go third party. They're all going to try multi-plat. They're all going to try to do whatever they can to make more money in this new landscape of gaming. The leadership team has also made the incredibly difficult decision to restructure operations, which regrettably includes reduction in your workforce, impacting the very talented individuals who have contributed to our success. After careful consideration, as many leadership's discussion over the several months, it has become clear changes needed to be made to continue to grow the business and develop the company. We had to step back, look at our business historically, and move forward, focusing on the long-term sustainability of the company and delivering the best experience possible for our community. The goal is to streamline our resources to ensure streamline. Streamline means firing a bunch of people. That's what that means. Our resources to ensure our continued success and the ability to deliver experiences. Right, take one for the team. For the bigger company to succeed, we have to streamline and we have to cut down employees, and you just happen to be one of them, right? Gamers are creators and have come expect from us. Now, I want to be transparent as possible with you as a partners and our community about this, what it means. It says we envision reducing our headcount by 900 people and about 8% of our current workforce. There will also be impact for employees across the SIE regions, America, EMEA, Japan, and APAC. Several PlayStation studios are affected, and I know that receiving this news will be hard or unsettling, and you're also wondering what this means for you. Timelines and produces for how we approach this will be varied based on the location due to the local laws and regulations. For those of you in the U.S., all impacted employees will be notified today. In the UK is proposed, and in PlayStation Studio London studio will close in entirety. That sucks. When the whole entire studio closes, that's worse than just getting a couple people let go. Right? The reduction of these various functions across the Sony Entertainment and the UK. The proposed changes mean that we enter a period of collective consolidation before the final decision are taken, and all employees who are also part of the collective will also be made aware of the next steps today. In Japan, we're implementing a new career support program, details and communicated separately. In other countries, it also began conversations with this who are potentially at risk and impact of results of proposed course of actions. For those who will also be leaving Sony Entertainment, you're also leaving the company with the deepest respect and appreciation for all your efforts during your tenure. Sure. Thanks for taking one for the team so the rest of us can keep our job is basically what they're saying. For those of you who will also be staying with us, we'll be also saying goodbye to the friends and colleagues with the cherished during the process, and this will be painful, and the resilience, selective adaptiveness will be also critical of the weeks, months to come. Now, this will not be easy, and I'm aware of the impact it will have on the well-being affected employees will receive a support, including severance packages. This also challenges times and the lack of strength of our company and our brand and our industry. Our goal is to remain agile and adaptive to continue to focus on delivering the best gaming experience possible and how in the future. Thank you for understanding during this difficult period of time, Jim. So there you go. So there's the letter from Jim Ryan, who it's, I guess, his last send-off before he's completely taken over. But yeah, PlayStation. What does this mean for PlayStation? Does this mean that PlayStation is closing down? No. No, it doesn't mean it's closing down. It means that they're adapting and changing. We said years ago, I said if they don't adjust to start making games on PC, they could close down, right? Not many people know this, but in 2014, right, which is almost 10 years ago, okay, or it is 10 years ago, almost the 10 to the day, right? Sony was in trouble where they were up for sale. Now, doesn't mean they're up for sale now in any way, shape, or form. It just means that they were in trouble. And since that time, a lot has changed in 10 years in the gaming industry. In that time, we didn't have live service games, and then we did, right? In that time, not only did we get live service games, but there's been battle passes and microtransactions and all of this other stuff that has evolved exponentially faster. And in that time, in the 10 years, there's also been the internet that's gotten better, faster, more innovative, okay? There's also been the thing introduced with cloud service, and there's also the thing with services, okay, where you can download your games and play them in the cloud and all these other things. So the industry is changing. The only thing that's not changing is the people that don't want it to change. It's going to change if you're ready or not, okay? These companies have to adapt. We have to adapt. And Sony, Nintendo, Nvidia, Amazon, Google, Apple, Microsoft, they're all in business together, okay? They tell us what's moving forward and what's not moving forward. They lay the roads down and that we drive on, okay? So is this going to happen more? Are more studios going to close? Yes. Are more people going to lose their jobs? Yes. Not just with Sony, but across the industry, because the games are getting too expensive to make, okay? And there's so many more games out there. There's thousands of games coming out, okay? And they're all fighting for the same pool of money that's in there, which is us, okay? And the more games that are out there, the more that you're spending $10 here, $5 there, $70 here, $100 there, you start to look at the business plan and the business model that they have and sustainability. Microsoft is trying to hit 3 billion devices, and that's how they're adapting to this. PlayStation and Nintendo are still fighting for that minuscule pool of 150 to 200 million gamers out there that are buying, right? There's people that literally buy PlayStation that don't buy any first-party titles, okay? And that goes across with Microsoft as well, where people buy a console and don't even buy the first-party titles. But Microsoft has kind of subsidized that because they don't care. They just want the $10, $12, $15, $18 a month. And starting that now, saying we're everywhere. You can play wherever you want. Where PlayStation and Nintendo makes a lot of game sales, okay? Sony's in this like middle ground where they do very well for what they do. They have high quality stuff, and yet they're going to have to adjust if they want to kind of survive 10, 15, 20 years from now. If they just stay on the PlayStation, if PlayStations don't sell, where are you making your money from? This is why they're starting to put their PSVR 2 to work with PC games. This is why they're doing handheld devices. This is why they're making another PlayStation. This is why they keep doing what they're doing. And this is why I think they're going to do day and date. And I've been saying this for years for PlayStation. Everyone's like, it's never going to happen. And I say, it is until it's not, right? Or I should say, it's not until it is, right? These are just my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comment section down below. What do you think that's happening with Sony? Do you think more layoffs are going to happen across the board? And what are you going to do as a gamer? Do you care? Maybe you don't care. Who cares, right? You're just getting your games and playing them, and if that game goes down or that studio closes, you're just going to move on to the next game. Let me know in the comment section down below. Please make sure you share, like, and subscribe. And if you like what we do here, make sure you check out some of our other videos. Thanks for watching. Eclipse, thank you very much for the membership. Appreciate that. Thank you very much. Let's see what you guys are saying. I'd be willing to say, if you're reading the article, you know. My friends are diehard Xbox fans and didn't even know they bought Activision Blizzard. Yeah, most people don't know. Most people don't care. I'm a huge Sony fan. I heard or had no idea about this till now. If I don't matter to me as a gamer, the new game is coming out. Yep, okay, that's what matters. Exactly right, Rose. Exactly right. We cover this here because we are a channel that talks about gaming and stuff like that. But the majority of the population doesn't care. Or know to care. Fifth Horseman, what's going on? The devs can focus on making a good game rather than need to performance product for the execs for a AAA budget. This is when we get things like Last Epoch, Helldivers, Palworld, etc. I think it's a little bit more than that, but you're absolutely right, Horseman. I think for the majority, you're absolutely correct. But there's a time where companies... So, for instance, let's say in this hypothetical world I'm about to create, Arrowhead with Helldivers 2, they make so much money, right? Now, let's say Sony buys them up, right? Just like they did with Insomniac Games, and Arrowhead now becomes part of Sony. Now, 5 years from now, Helldivers 3 comes out. And Helldivers 3 now has the projections to make more than what Helldivers 2 did. And it becomes short of that. Then they have to let people go. You see what I'm saying? Because the expectations for Helldivers 3 is like this now. Right? Even though Helldivers 1 was down here, and Helldivers 2 was just about the same. But now that Helldivers 2 is so successful, now Helldivers 3 is like here, through the roof. Okay? And that's the problem now. That companies look at this and go, well, you did this last time. Why can't you do it again? Expectations become astronomically unrealistic. The Office is simultaneously released in 2025, so on two platforms, Switch and Switch 2, right? This means that the new Pokemon probably won't hit 30 frames per second, yay. What's going on, Ron? I buy Stadia games. Brave soul. What's going on, Mo? What's going on, Luke? Glad you're talking about this, but this is going to be a disappear because nobody will talk about it. They're shutting down studios, and the shit is not going to be talked about. It's talked about here, Mo. I talk about it just because I just read the news. I just read the news and give you my opinion, right? I don't have one side or the other. I'm right in the middle of this shit happens all the time. But people like to nitpick and pick out and choose what they're going to talk about and stuff. PC gaming is the way to go. (2024), the year of AA studios taking over. Gaming Fire says Power Watch Simulator DLC Warhammer is $7.99. I thought it was free on the thing. Is it $7.99? That's probably a good price. Altern says, in my opinion, they should separate some studios in the medium-sized groups and do a lot of AA games for $40 and also be a blockbuster, but we'll make some money. Well, this is what's happening right now in the movie industry. This is what's happening in the music industry. This is what's happening across all the entertainment types of fields, right? Where back in the day, in the 80s and 90s when movies were made, their budgets were like 10 million, 20 million, 30 million, and then they would go on to make 250, 300 million dollars, and that was earth-shattering successful. That was amazing, okay? And now movies make what they made. You see what I'm saying? Like $300 million was made back in the 80s from a $10 million film, and now they're making movies for $350, $400 million, and now they have to make $1 billion to make profit. And it's like, that's insane. You can't do it, right? So now they're starting to make other movies again that are coming down in price, okay, that their budgets are low. Video games have to do the exact same thing. And I'm telling you, What does it cost to make what does a AAA game cost to make to get a 90 plus Metacritic score, and what does a AAA game cost to get an 80 to 89 cost, right? That's a huge difference. If it cost me 300 million to get over a 90, but then it cost me just over 150 million to just get over an 80, or maybe even an 89, what do you think I'm going to take? This is just in the news to start the fanboys wars, I guess, but that's not why I'm reading it, though, Rose. You know, I'm not saying that you're saying that I'm said, but that's not why I'm doing it. I'm doing it as a conversation. I like talking about what business and industry is and how it works. Happens even if it's smaller companies. My building just phased out the entire department head position and spread the responsibilities amongst 3 other people. Did you get a pay raise, Argus? Probably not, right? You're doing like 15 people's jobs now, and you got like a 25-cent raise. Everybody says, shall I say again? Forgot source, but start of the year around January 5th, someone said, paraphrase, you thought 2023 was bad with layoffs. 2024 will be worse. Yeah, but is this not surprising to... it's not surprising to me. Do people forget? Do we literally have goldfish brain? The whole world shut down a few years back. Okay? Game companies were stopped making games, and then they made games. Okay? And then all those games are coming out now. 2023, 2024. Okay? What did we think was going to happen? When everyone was stuck in the house, and everyone was playing games, and gaming was going through the roof, handhelds, right? Animal Crossing, all these things were happening. And then all of a sudden, now we're coming back to reality, right? People don't like to talk about politics and stuff like that, but reality actually has to set in. Like, people are in a recession right now. What do you think was going to happen? $70 is premium. Not every game is premium. Not every game should be $70. Well, that's the industry for you, huh? Sony led that charge with the $70 games, and everyone else was like, yeah, let's do it. What size is A24 considered? They're an amazing movie studio that don't seem to miss. I'm not sure. A24. I'll be honest. Most studios, the only staff that they have, Mo, this is how most studios work. Okay? Like, I was never employed by Universal or Walt Disney or Lionsgate. Okay? I'm a freelance worker, and they pay me for that job. And then when I'm done, they don't want to pay any benefits or anything like that. Okay? They pay my union they pay my union fees. And when I mean that, my rate, my day rate for my union, okay? And then I have to pay all my shit out on my own. The only people they employ there is maybe the producers that work there, the assistants, the secretaries, the PAs, and stuff like that. Everybody else in that studio is all freelance people they bring in to work on those films. Number of employees, 295. And I guarantee you those 295 people have nothing to do with, like, in-house camera guy or gaffer or lighter or anything like that. Because they don't want to pay the benefits and stuff. Let me see what you got. Here, big budgets are needed to make good game. Just ask Vampire Survivors, Angry Birds, Candy Crush, etc. Yeah, if you can have a game like Candy Crush or Vampire Survivors, if you can make a bunch of games like that and all be successful. Well, they phased out one of the department's head positions and one of the other department heads. Luckily, my job physical work, so they can't phase it out even if they wanted to. Luckily for me. Well, good for you. For me, it's said the sad part of it, all the closures of the entire studio of PlayStation London. Yeah, when a whole studio closes, that's what's brutal. I mean, it's brutal for anyone losing their job, but when a whole studio shuts down, that's messed up. Sarge says, we can't talk about reality in here, 30. Someone will lash out emotionally. And they'll have to call a therapist. Krebsy says, Sony, Take-Two lead the charge at NBA, if you remember correctly, whatever the potato phrase is. Sony was the ones that implemented a $70 game. Am I wrong there? What was the first $70 game? Was it Take-Two? Let's see. This is from a year ago. Like, I just went to Reddit and someone's like, when did games become $70? That's a person that's lived under a rock, huh? Was it NBA 2K23 first? London isn't known for shit, as 30 said, bottom of the poll. Yeah, but at the same time, a studio closing, a whole studio closing, I mean, they made the VR game, right? Right, Mo. Well, they're not known for anything, so, like, no, it's a whole studio closed. I'm looking to see. May 18th last year, Take-Two says there's been no pushback on the $70 game. You're welcome. All right? The customers said it again. You're welcome. PlayStation exclusive Ratchet & Clank A Rift Apart was $70 and it released in spring of 2021. I don't think there was a $70 games in 2020. So, Neutralizer, did Ratchet & Clank come out before 2K? I don't know. I'm asking. I'm just trying to figure out. Are you going to play Sea of Griefers on PlayStation 5? I'm talking about, I think you're talking about Sea of Thieves, and why would I play on PlayStation 5 when I've been playing that game for 5 years on PC and Xbox? Studio gets closed, it happens. Embracer closed tons, and the studio they made the day before closed. Yeah, Embracer's closing studios like that, like they're popping candy. Embracer's over here going, yeah, close them. Close them. People get a lot to go all the time, and they didn't close any studios. So real quick, I want to know, did Rift Apart come out before NBA 2K? Which one raised the price first? Which one was the first? Was it 2K? Or was it PlayStation? I thought it was PlayStation. In August of 2020, Take-Two NBA 2K21 became the first current-gen game to be priced at $70. In August. Well, that doesn't make any sense, Krebsy, because Ratchet and Clank or Rift Apart came out June 11th, 2021. So, August of 2020, Take-Two. 2K 2021. Yes, it was 2K 2021. Okay. Man, has it been that long? Have we had $70 games since 2020? Jesus. I remember having the conversation that they're like, games have to be $70. That's crazy to me. It's been almost 4 years. Oh, I guess 3.5 years. It's been 4 years since we discussed that they're going to raise the price of $70. Well, no, Dolphin. They didn't all do it unless it was a next-gen console game. That's when they started raising the price to $70. If it was still on the old system and the new system, you could still get it for the cheaper price. That's crazy. See, this is why I think, hold on one second. This is why I think yeah, see, what sticks in my head and why they adopted this, and you're correct, right, with the 2K. But Miles Morales was only $50. But because it was bundled with Spider-Man, in my brain, they charged $70, right? And I was like, I remember Sony, and then there was Ratchet and Clank that came out the following year. That's why I think Sony was in my head. But Miles Morales wasn't a $70 game; it was a $50 game. Hence why we said it was a DLC disguised. Go on, 76. No game should be $70 at 30 frames per second. Dragon's Dogma says, hold my beer. Is Dragon's Dogma 2 at 30 frames per second, Dolphin? Are people going to shit on that game as bad as they did for Gotham Knights if it is? Kylo Green says, sure looks like it is. I just want to know, are people going to lose their shit on Dragon's Dogma because it's 30 frames per second? I hope so. I hope it's the same energy. Skull and Bones is Ubisoft's first $70 game, according to the article. They're a bunch of fucking liars. As of February 14th, 2024, the director of Dragon's Dogma 2 has confirmed that the game will have an uncapped frame rate. This means that the game will not be locked at 30 frames per second. There you go. They're targeting 30 frames. It could be worse. They will shit on it, not just as a bad Gotham Knights, not a shot that happens. Well, apparently Water says that the guy came out and said that it's not locked at 30 frames per second. But is that on console or is that on PC? Water. The entire countries will burn down if Dragon Dogma 2 is at 30 frames per second. PlayStation 5 footage of the state of play was 60 frames per second. Yeah, I don't know, Factor. I know nothing about Dragon's Dogma. You guys are bringing it up. I'm just reading chat. Mo says, Mike, you ain't even getting the same energy with the layoffs. You serious? You forgot, bruh. Unlock frame rate for that game is not good. As a result, the frame rates are all over the place. Looks bad. Again, I haven't looked any information on Dragon's Dogma 2 because I'm not interested in that game because I didn't play 1, and it's a lot of time to put in that game to try to invest into 2. And I know people are like, you don't have to play 2 to get 1, but I like playing that. I didn't want to play Mass Effect 2 before I played Mass Effect 1. On Xbox, it'd be 20 frames per second. Here's another thing. You guys like to bring up frame rates and stuff like that. I am not, and take it how you want. If you're offended by this, I am not a gaming snob, right? I'm not a game snob. I'm a coffee snob, but I am not a game snob, right? I don't personally care if a game is 30 frames, 60 frames, right? I play a game and I enjoy a game, okay? And I get people don't like 30 frames because they played 60 frame games and then it hurts their eyes, they get nauseous and stuff like that. I am not one of those people. I'm definitely a game snob. Yeah, I am not. So when people come in and try to look at me like, dude, it's only 30 frames, I'm like, man, it doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter to me. I had a PC that I would have to run on mid-tier because of my graphics card before. Now I can play Ultra when I'm not streaming. Okay? I play what I have. Just tell him uncap my espresso and that bitch. In my opinion, you charge $70 for a game, it should be $60. Again, premium. I don't think that. See, I think that's the disengagement of what the standard is for what the customers want and what the businesses want, the corporations want. Krebsy, I think audiences are looking for 60 frames per second, but the industry is looking for 4K. Do you know what I mean? There's more people that want, because what's more sellable to the average goer, 4K or 60 frames per second? Majority of the population doesn't even know what the fucking 60 frames per second is. I'm being dead serious. Most people that play video games have no idea the difference between 30 and 60 frames per second. But they know what 4K means because they bought television sets. And they're like, well, I bought a 4K TV, and that plays the 4K on my TV. Sounds good to me. Anything above 60 only matters for frames per second first-person shooter. Your eye can't tell anything different past 60. I'm fine with 30 frames on handheld, like the Switch OLED. Yeah, I understand that. It's awesome. I just been on PC since 2013. Kylo says, yeah, I put Helldivers at medium settings, running at steadily 80 to 90 frames per second. I'm happy with that. Altered says, at the end of the day, $60 or $70 does not matter because people keep buying the $100 5-day early access edition of the game. It's exactly right, Altered. Exactly right. My monitor is used for the console. I only have 1440p. I don't give a shit about 4K. Again, Argus, most people don't know anything. You say 1440p to people, they'll be like, what does that mean? They don't look at... If you tell 1920 by 1080p, the normal customer knows what 1080p is. The normal customer knows what 2K is. The normal customer knows what 4K is. They know 2 is lower than 4. That's it. Bare bone minimum people. Most people don't know anything. People here People that watch our channels, people that watch Lono, people that watch a lot of YouTube channels of gaming and stuff like that, they know. They know what 60, 120 hertz, frames, right? They know all that stuff. But the majority of the population, they don't know shit. Well, I'll be honest. Most people, when they read your sentence, I have an MSI optic. They tune out. They don't even read the rest of that thing. That's all they read. They're like, oh, it's like when you have a conversation with someone that you have nothing interested in, and they're like, yeah, I'm a basket weaver, and you use a double knot niche stitch, and you go through. You're like, right? Someone when they talk about like video games, they're like, yeah, I have an i5 6700 32 gig. They're like, they don't care. They're like, does it play a game? Oh, that looks good. That looks good. Definitely can tell the difference between 60 and 120 frames. The statement that the human eye can't see past 60 frames is pure myth. A lot of people, John, and I understand where you're coming from. I worked in the film industry. I changed frames and stuff. I can tell. It doesn't bother me going back to slow, and you're absolutely correct. You can tell. Majority of the population can't tell. You can put a 1080p television and tell someone it's a 4K and put it next to another television. Okay, that's 4K, and they'd be like, that one looks better. They would not be able to tell the difference because the majority of the population doesn't give a shit. Those are facts. Most people I have an SMS. Yeah, exactly, Big T. They're like, I have an MS. What was that? Set your monitor to 30 hertz. Move your mouse cursor around. You'll see trailing ghosting. Yep, most people don't care. Most people don't even know. By going from 30 to 60, for some reason, it hurts my eyes. Yeah, because once you go to 60 and you start playing games on 60, okay, it's hard for people to go back. Okay? It's hard for people to go back. It's the same reason why a lot of people can't play VR headsets and stuff like that. They get nauseous. That's because of the brain disconnecting from the feet and also from the actual hertz in the little monitors in your eyes. Doesn't the majority of the population suffer? I don't even know what that is. What is that word? Can't even pronounce that word. Let me. Is it common and general terrible imperfection in the camera's eye and causes a blur distance to the near vision? Okay. Astigmatism. Astigmatism. Okay, got it. Learn something new. Did not know that. I wonder what the percentage of that is. Yeah, it has two structures: a curved surface that bends, refracts the light into. Oh, here, let's read together, shall we? Let's see. The cornea is the first surface of the eye along the tear film. The lens is also a clear structure inside the eye. It changes the shape to help the eye focus on near objects. Perfectly shaped eye. Okay. The refractive error occurs when the cornea of the lens is curved more steeply in one direction than the other. You have the cornea at astigmatism. The other cornea is a mismatch curve. And you have the your lens is mismatched curves. Either type may be caused a blurred vision. Blurred vision may be also occurred in one direction: horizontal, vertical, and diagonal. It's also from birth and development of an eye injury, disease, or surgery. Interesting. There you go. I like learning stuff. If you can't see the difference, you're literally blind. Well, my wife is literally blind. She wears glasses, and when she takes her glasses off, she can't see me. She sees like if you're looking through like a Coke bottle. You know what I mean? Like if you're drinking a glass and you're looking through, that's what she sees. I say the percentage that do care is increased with both Sony and Microsoft putting into PlayStation 5 series marketing. This doesn't mean that it's like 30%, probably from like 5% to 6%. Right. Again, majority of the people don't know shit. I got that. Developed in my 30s. Sucks. We have to be screened for long periods. There you go. Not blind, just don't care. It's exactly right, Mo. Right? Right. They're not blind. They literally just don't care. You know, we have this conversation every couple of months. Remember when you used to go to Best Buy and they were selling 720p to 1080p? You remember this? And they would show you that thing that went across the screen like this, and they showed you it was like Vaseline on the screen. They're like, this is what your TV looks like at home, and this is what 720p looks like. You're like, no fucking way. My TV is not that fucking blurry in my house, right? But when you're in the store, you're like, those colors. To buy that, right? They like the mind when you have a 1080p next to a 720p, 100% you can tell. When you have a 1080p next to a 2K, you can 100% tell. When you have a 2K next to 4K, you can 100% tell. But if I take that TV and put it just inside your house and you can't compare it to anything else, majority of the people don't know, don't care, just don't know. I think older gamers don't care, to be honest, but the majority of younger gamers that play pretty much their 60 frames COD. Wrong, Water. Most people, young kids, are staring at this. Staring at this. They don't care either. They don't give a shit either. There's a small percentage of people that care about that stuff. No, see, that's wrong. That's a generalistic statement, right? When most games announce at 30 frames, the console, everyone bitches. No, everyone bitches of the people that are in our circle, the people that do and can tell. Wrong 30. They're staring at tablets. Nobody's using phones. Sorry. My mistake. They're looking at a 10-inch screen. I don't think it's 10 inches, is it? Maybe. Obviously, if we took a poll in our chat right now with just 35 people, I guarantee you like 96% of the people would care about 30 or 60 frames per second, right? Because this is a very niche community, right? Now, if I knocked door to door, went outside the house and knocked on my neighbor's door, I'd be like, what do you prefer, 60 frames or 30 frames? I'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about? I feel bad for people that ate Wagyu. I'm sorry, bitches. Can't ever just enjoy steak the same. That's not true either, see? I literally raise Wagyu. You put any kind of steak in front of me, I will eat it. I can tell the difference, but I'm still going to eat it. We literally raise Wagyu beef. Let me see. Let me see what my Wagyu's doing. Yep, they're eating. Get on, get. Is it bad or good Wagyu? No, Wagyu. There's Kobe beef and there's Wagyu. Kobe is overseas. Wagyu is in the States, right? Wagyu is a very high end. It's probably the best steak that you can get. You get Wagyu cuts and stuff like that. Very expensive. No, absolutely, John. Yeah, no, there are 100%. You're not wrong in what you're stating, right? Higher frame rates help you. Yeah, with the oh, my brain is the frames that miss, right? What's the word I'm looking for? This is what COVID has done to me. COVID has affected my brain in some part where I forget certain things. The frames. Shadow frames? No. What are they called? Chat. Iframes. Thank you, Altern. Right? The iframes, right? It 100% helps you in games like that and first-person shooters. Competitive. If you're playing tournament, those people know, right? Right? They know. They understand that stuff. High-end tier stuff, right? Same exact thing, though. If you're talking about athletes in the top of their game, yes, they're going to notice stuff in with exercise equipment and protein and stuff that they do. They keep track of all that stuff. Same thing with a gamer, right? A professional gamer and a person that plays competitively or wants to play competitively, they're going to see all that stuff. They're going to know the tricks of the trade. They're going to understand how iframes work and stuff like that. You understand, though, that's a minuscule percentage of the actual people that care about that stuff. Well, no, it's not made up, Sarge. Kobe beef is the region. Right. So Wagyu refers to any cattle that is bred in Japan or Japanese style. Kobe beef is comprised of a very particular strain of Wagyu called Tamadachi Gu. Is raised in strict standards, and it's basically the capital of the city is called Kobe, thus the name. Okay, it's the same type. It's the type of cattle and what you feed your animals. Yeah, that's why it's called Kobe beef. Yeah, Krebsy's putting it in chat now. Yeah. Right, Mo. Exactly. Different regions, different places, what makes it... You get a lot of stuff on this channel, Dolphin. It's not just about gaming. It's having conversations. It's exactly how I want it to be, right? Like, if you came over to my house, we would start a conversation like, how's your day? And we go into, like, politics, and then we go straight forward. Did you see that cat that just crossed the road? Like, we would just talk about random shit. Right? Welcome to my house. Welcome to my house. Kinger just released a new video. Yeah, I saw it, and I wanted to watch it, but I don't want to watch it because I want to watch it next week. Right? I don't want to react to Kinger's video because it's brand new. Right? So my thing is I want that video to get its views before I comment on it, and I don't want to watch it. But yeah, I know it dropped. All right, let's talk about this Helldivers thing, right? So Helldivers 2's first big war isn't suffering because of tough evac missions or medal honoring farmers or hoarding farmers, right? It's a pass or fail reward structure that's spoiling the fun, okay? It says, I've been enjoying Helldivers 2 a lot. Specifically, I love feeling the being disappointed of fragile grunts in the middle of a large-scale galactic war, that feeling that there's something bad happening in every turn. There's a whole lot of fun. This is why every other day there's a TikTok of some Helldiver ducking or weaving, barely making it into the Pelican on a razor's edge. Because I also adore the concept of adding a piddly little percentage points to the planet defense, at least in theory. In practice, however, the current major order has a few issues. One of it that is solvable. Now that Arrowhead Games HQ doesn't have unending server problems distracting it, it seems like Arrowhead wants to make battles feel hard-won. But now there's a Helldivers core design principles is getting in the way. If you mess up a mission completely, you get zilch. Okay? This is one of the problems I was saying before we even get to this. I haven't read this, but my problem with Helldivers is when you drop in, the longer you're on the map, the less XP you're getting. Okay? Sure, you're getting XP by completing the side objectives and whatnot, but if you're just running in, doing the main mission and getting out, you'll get more XP for that. I think they should, 100%, the longer you stay on the map and do more things, the more the time gets to 0, okay? You should be able to earn, like if it's 1,000, go on first. Let's say it's 1,000 XP, right? You're there for 40 minutes. You get 1,000 XP if you stay on for 40 minutes. Okay? In their world, let's say it's 1,000 XP, but by the time it gets down to 0, you get 0, right? It's kind of counterproductive. It's like, hey, go around and do all of these missions and side missions and get XP, but you're also losing XP the longer you stay on the match. It's like, what? So I think they have to change that, personally. Okay, he says, let's get something out of the way. Yes, people might be mucking up the numbers by farming. The larger war of Helldivers 2 have 4 layers, and we think about and major order. Defend 8 planets campaign. Defending a single planet operation is a batch of missions, which contributes to the campaign. And the missions themselves, let's start the campaign and operations. It says the current major order is to win 8 defensive campaigns against the automatons. Okay, and the issue is that one of the best farming methods in the game for metals does not do that. Only successful operations will contribute towards the defense of the planet, and Dev has also confirmed the abandoned operations will add tickets to the bot's red bar doom. Okay, so while they don't suggest bailing on the operations entirely when doing this, some players are still loading up for the operations, okay, of Automaton's Forces mission in it, blasting through a quick 10 to 20 minute romp, grabbing their medals, and then bailing to dodge the deadly evacs and drawing out the exploration mission. A rinse and repeat, and this is the upsetting a lot of people. Now, I'm going to risk under democratic speech here by saying I don't think players farming these missions are even being jerks, really. It's about a little uncooperative, sure, but not for everyone who plays video games is going to be invested time in overrating narrative. Helldivers 2 reward structure is currently at war with itself. It wants you to care about the larger scale war efforts, but it also wants you to feel satisfied gathering medals, requisitions, resources, and XP, expecting players not to farm the in-game as well as establish unlocked treadmill fields. To me, it's expecting electricity not to flow through the path of least resistance. You get the mad electrons all you like, but you're still going to get zapped. It says, as an aside, I would like to say the whole situation of superfitting in-universe, the core thrust of Helldivers, world building, and the Super Earth makes it every single problem it faces so much worse than trying to nuke it. Those bugs are fighting, for example, and they mutated to evolve being researchers and experimenting and then harvesting them for sources of oil. Now, the squad commander deliberately hamstrings the bigger war effort by rocketing up, putting into a bare minimum, and then bouncing so they can brag about how many medals they can earn in the war in Super Opponent, and kind of funny in the isolation. It just sucks, though, for players who want to win. But for what I think the problem has been overblown, sure. For Glorious Hounds aren't contributing anything, and they're also substantially bolstering Discord servers with lots of dedicating themselves to the cause, and they just complete the missions, right? Actually, no. Every single defense operation, at least one civilian evac mission in it, they're also damn hard. The difficulty problem, in my experience, is that they're also either a cakewalk because me and my squad mates manage to keep pace with the bots, or we fall behind and just keep getting stumbling. Okay? Seeing, dying, and stopping bot drops from coming. And a larger, we also take the kill bots already there. More bots arrive. This makes it clear that the bots even harder on it are also on it goes. Okay? Or on it goes. There are also some nifty ways to do this in the mission without risking that. One popular technique that emerges asks 3 squad mates to cause a ruckus outside of the countryside while one stealth commando slips into the evac center and ushers the civilians into the escape pods. The fact that you could do that is actually pretty cool. I didn't even think about that. So 3 guys are out fighting the robots and they pull them away from the actual base. And then other person's just secretly going in and helping the escape pod. That's actually pretty cool. He actually says, I love that it's possible, but the level of coordination is just can't expect from randoms to have. Normally, I wouldn't actually have a problem with this. Helldivers 2 is a difficulty spikes and also spills into other flashbacks, including Chaos works brilliantly in other missions. But there's one key difference. In every other mission type, you can fail to extract and still get some reward as long as it's fulfilled your primary objectives. You just miss out on your samples. This is just a push your luck beef without feeling like you're just washed a bunch of your time or waste a bunch of your time. This came to a hard over this weekend where the defense missions, I had right out laugh losing to spend most of the mission running away from tanks, desperately scrapping for those kind of disadvantages or advantages, occasionally clawing back to the ground moments of cool heroism, only to meet the demise by the gameplay's perspective is ruled. But seeing this reward screen at the end of it goes eggs just tainted the whole affair. Take my medals, take my glory, take my samples even, but to spend 30 minutes struggling tooth and nail and give the exact same rewards I would have gotten if I just quit, something wrong here. Yeah, that's a major problem. That's a major problem. Because you want to respect the player's time, and the stuff that's happening with the major objective is basically doing the opposite of that, right? We talk about this in other types of games like Sea of Thieves, where you would get all your treasure, and as you're cruising back, you would get killed by PvE or PvP, and you would lose it all. This is before the updates they've made, where when you dig up a thing now, you get renown, and you get gold through the battle pass and stuff like that. Before, you got nothing. It wasted the time, so you have to respect players' time. This goes against what the rest of the game is doing for these major events. It says, it all comes back to the rest XP. It's an old tale, still relevant today. Did you know that the World of Warcraft rested XP was initially an XP penalty, one which kicked you if you were playing for too long? Playtesters hated the snot out of it, and a bright spark of Blizzard was the idea to change it from penalty to bonus. It became staple of MMORPG genre. Helldivers 2 has some similar issues, though, with the problem. A little bit more concrete. In the evac missions, you get penalty every time a civilian dies to friendly fire, which doesn't feel great. Okay, instead, that you started at 0 and then snag bonuses for everyone that escaped. That would make more sense, right? It's almost the same thing with my time problem. The longer you stay on the map, you should get XP, not lose XP. You could extend this by the mission objective itself, rather than having a minimum amount of civilians required to success and have relatively achievable floors. Then you give the players a bonus for every civilian that they're able to extract past like other missions. The core order, pretty straightforward, achievable, but you can also still rack in the rewards. The problem with his example there, when you get a good group, if they get you a bonus for every time someone escaped, people would farm that because you would get so powerful, their skill levels would be so good, they could just farm. Then they would have to nerf that. So, I don't know if that's the answer to this, but let me read on. I'm sure they'll change the underlining code. This mission is also a lot of work, especially if they have much sweat and tears. Arrowhead had to put it into expanding the server's back end. But on paper, I think that fixing this evac mission is actually pretty simple. Let's go with one step further and apply this with a wider campaign. What if instead of getting 0 contribution for ditching an operation, you get a stack of contribution based on how many missions you did complete, similar to Warbound medals? Even if a single mission only gives you a silver or contribution without stacking a modifier, you still won't feel like you just spent 20 to 40 minutes helping nobody. Similarity, even if with 12,500 requisitions isn't actually a great reward, players are going to be upset if they fall short of the measly planetary defense campaign and get nothing. Having community milestones rewards for the short thing would be great. That I can see. A milestone type of stuff like that would be interesting. Ultimately, Helldivers 2 shines bright when it's also allowed to scrappy moron somehow overcoming unthinkable odds, and the rest of the game enables this. Okay, losing civilians evac missions, an extension of the operation, is actually pretty fun, and the reward structure is demotivational, and it doesn't have to be this way. Yeah, there's a couple things that are just like, I love the fact that you can land on a planet and take your time going around, but you take your time, you lose that extra XP. They need to fix that. They need to fix this for the defense missions as well, because again, if you die, you waste your time. As a game, it doesn't feel very good. For the lore of what the thing is, it makes sense, but for the gamer, it doesn't make sense. The trade-off is find mats, but get less time bonus. I understand the trade-off, but maybe there's a better way. Yeah, for my thing, though, Big T, why it makes no sense, because if you just do the main mission and then get the time, you're still not getting that full time. You see what I'm saying? You're not getting that full time because it's counting down. So regardless, you're never, ever going to be able to get the full XP that they're offering, because you just don't land and then extract in the amount of time. It ticks down, and you only get a percentage of it. That's a problem. That's one part of Helldivers 2 I don't like. It gives the more rushed feeling. I love to explore. I think they could have missions where less time, right? Like, there are missions that have less time. You don't have to do the 40 minutes. There's a 10-minute to 12-minute, and it rushes you where you're not getting as much stuff. That's fine. But you still get XP as the longer you stay on or complete the most of the stuff. First, as I agree, I think you should get more XP the longer you stay alive. Right? Maybe they can even add, as a game, if you die, you lose the multiplier. Every minute that you're alive, you get like a multiplier. Right? So the more interaction, the more things you complete, you get a multiplier. And then when you die, you'll lose it. And if you don't lose, then you can get a bonus at the end. Maybe they can do something like that. Who knows? Helldivers needs a raid. Make it happen, Arrowhead. Yeah, I've done it. Robots, go to aggro. Maybe they could release a mat collection opportunities at the time. Counts down, thus trading XP for money bonus or mat bonus each day. I would be okay if they keep the time the way it is and you lose XP, but if you don't die, you get a bonus. So it would motivate you for not dying. Yeah, but then there's also the factor of people killing you by accident. If they know you get a bonus, then they'll kill you on purpose because people are assholes. Helldivers 2 plus Monster Hunter. I was more thinking of fighting a Bile Titan times 10 the size of a new monster. Do like 4 nukes. We can each leg. Oh, that'd be cool, Krebsy. You have to fight at each of the things and then launch simultaneously to destroy the guy. Or one at a time to damage him, and you have to do all 4 to kill him. Oh, that'd be interesting. That might be interesting. There's a lot of stuff you can do with this game. I'm very excited to see what type of stuff they bring to Helldivers 2. All right, we got one more thing to watch, which is Force Gaming talking about The Last Epoch. I know a lot of you guys are playing The Last Epoch. I'm interested in it. I just don't know if I should get it at this time because there's a lot still server issues or whatever's happening. So I'll just wait a little bit longer, and I'll probably pick it up because it does look good. But Force Gaming has a video. He says, I want to talk about The Last Epoch. Now, this is not a review, I don't think. It's more of just his viewpoint of what it is. So let's watch. Make sure it's at normal. That up. All right.
Hey, I'm happy to say I got a real pleasant surprise this week. It's not all too often that this happens, where I find a brand new game that I either didn't know about, or if I did, just didn't have much expectations for, but then I end up playing and really enjoying. Well, that is exactly what has happened with Last Epoch. This latest entry into the ARPG genre has been in early access since 2019, and after nearly 5 years of updates and improvements, it
Hey, a game takes 5 years to make. Imagine that.
officially launched.
And technically, it's still not complete.
Launched its 1.0 version this past week. Now, I had known about this game, hearing things about it here and there over the years, and it was mostly positive word of mouth, but even still, looking at the gameplay didn't really ever sell me on the game, and so I just never ended up making.
I'll tell you what, man. If you told me this was Diablo 4, like a Diablo game, like it was Diablo, I'd be like, okay. Like, It looks good.
Taking the time to play. However, with it officially launching and being a fan of ARPGs, I figured it was about time I gave the game a shot, and I am so glad I did because Last Epoch seems genuinely great so far. I'm not just pleasantly surprised, I am almost blown away by the level of quality of this game.
Right, Altern? Right? Finally, a game that has server issues that has offline mode, you know, in case the servers went to shit.
Was not expecting it, quite literally. It far exceeded my expectations. Now, with that said, do keep in mind, this is an indie game from a small studio. I mention that because it does have...
How many people are working in the studio? You guys know?
An impact on the overall production quality when we're talking about things like the level of detail, the fidelity of assets, the gameplay feel, the overall look of the game. You can tell Last Epoch was made by a much smaller team and with a much smaller budget than compared to, say, Diablo 4 or Path of Exile 2. Many things about the game do look scaled back in comparison to those two, but ultimately
I swear to God, I think it's Diablo.
That doesn't really matter. The only real important question is, for any game, is it fun to play? And so far from my time, Last Epoch seems very fun to play, and it really...
What? A game to be fun? No, say it ain't so. So far, I've played, regardless of what you think, right? We have Pal World, fun game. We had Suicide Squad, fun game. We had Deep Rock Galactic, Survivor, fun game. Helldivers, fun game. I know it's crazy. Fun games so far this year. Now, Skull and Bones, a lot of people are having fun with it, and that's the greatest thing. If you're having fun, you don't feel like you got gypped in any way, shape, or form, by all means, enjoy.
It doesn't even matter how good or not your production quality is if the game's systems and features aren't up to snuff. And while I have not personally reached Last Epoch's endgame at this point, I have heard good things. This game is shaping up quite well and seems primed to be a strong contender in the ARPG genre. Now, I've spent the past couple of days playing, or at least when it was playable.
How's the leveling up in this game? Right? How's the leveling? Is it fast? Is it slow? Is it pretty good?
As they've had some serious server issues up to this point, which we will get to that. But also, hey, they have an offline mode. Look at that. And even if it's not your preferred way to play, it sure is a heck of a lot better than the alternative of the online games that have server.
So I have a question. You can play co-op with this game? Can you play 2, 3, 4 people on the game? Or is it just like certain sections are online, like the cities and stuff?
Issues at launch, and you're just not able to play them at all until those issues are resolved. I was there for the launch of Diablo 3. I know how bad it can be. I mean, heck, you don't even have to go that far back. Look at Helldivers 2. That game has had persistent issues since it released, in many ways making it unplayable for a lot of people. The point is, offline mode is a great option. It's good for being there when you need it. More games should have it, and Last Epoch does. That's a great thing. So I'm not just here to gas the game up, though. I do want to talk in a little...
Does it have a voiceover? Like voice dialogue? Or does it read?
A little bit more detail about what I've seen so far and what I like. Before we do that, though, a quick word from today's sponsor. Today's video is sponsored by World of Tanks Blitz. This is a cross-platform, free-to-play, team-based MMO action game dedicated to fierce tank combat, and it's also an MMO shooter that you can play on...
Is that 60 frames per second? What's the frame rate of World of Tanks?
Mobile. In World of Tanks Blitz, you'll discover a wide variety of over 450 historical and unique tanks, with 32 maps to choose from and 8 game modes where you'll employ a variety of strategies.
Looks like a PlayStation 2 game.
Strategies to take out your opponents. From February the 23rd until March 7th, players will be able to grab exclusive in-game content inspired by the Dune universe, a specially designed...
You could get World of Tank Dune Edition.
Tank, static and animated avatars, exclusive camouflages, spectacular skins, and more. This event unfolds across 60 stages, each presenting distinct missions, special quests, Dune containers, and themed rewards. World of Tanks Blitz boasts over 150 million worldwide players.
I have not, Prosy.
Available on iOS, macOS, Android, Windows 10, Steam, and Nintendo Switch. You can check it out.
Real games don't come to mobile, though, Prosy. So it doesn't exist, right?
Out by following my link in the description below. Also, you can enter for a chance to win tickets to see the upcoming movie Dune 2 in theaters by commenting below with your World of Tanks.
Like, isn't that a kind of weird sponsorship? Like, Dune's like, hey, got a new movie coming out. What should we advertise? What about what about if we do a team up with World of Tanks? And the director and the producer's like, what the hell is World of Tanks? Multi-billion-dollar game, but everyone's playing on mobile devices and consoles across the world. They're like, yeah, okay, we got the budget. Go ahead and do it.
Splits user ID and the correct house sigil, which you'll find somewhere else hidden in today's video. If you don't already have an account, you can download the game and create one for free. Okay, so now back into Lost Epoch. We are a few days into release. What do I think of the game so far? Well, aside from my broadly positive first impressions that you heard me give at the start, here are some more specifics. Combat in this game seems really well done. The general flow, pacing, and feel of playing Last Epoch seems good. Moving your character around, attacking, casting spells, blowing up enemies, as well as the environment.
They have an overlay map in the middle of the thing? Amazing.
It looks like a well-executed ARPG combat system. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the production quality isn't necessarily quite as high as a Diablo 4 or Path of Exile 2. It doesn't feel quite as chunky or as impactful as those games, but I would say it's pretty darn close and very good in its own right. I simply enjoy attacking things in this game, and I've been doing that while playing as my character of choice this time around, the Rogue. The Rogue has a few base abilities. There is Flurry, Puncture, and Cinder Strike. These are all core spammable attacks with different flavors, like Flurry performs 3 rapid attacks, Cinder Strike is a combo that includes a fiery AoE, and Puncture is a strong jab that inflicts bleeding. Now,
I'll be honest, I haven't watched a lot of Last Epoch, and me just watching this, I'm definitely a lot more interested now.
Is that each of these attacks will be changing depending on whether or not you cast them while wielding a melee or a ranged weapon. These attacks are not tied to melee or ranged, they're either depending on what you feel like using. The Rogue's other core abilities are a Shuriken Throw, Acid Flask that debuffs enemies, and Umbral Blades that you toss
Is Max level 50? Is Max level 50, or is it 60 or 70? What is it?
Recall, dealing damage on both the giving and receiving end. There's also a movement skill for rogues called Shift. In addition to this, you've got a passive tree where you select from enhancements tailored to different playstyles and builds, and then as you spend points, you progress along this horizontal bar at the bottom, which then unlocks 3 additional abilities for the rogue, which are the Smoke Bomb, Decoy, and Ballista, and every single one of the classes has a similar setup of core skills, and then a passive tree which unlocks a
Can I respect at any time? Maybe he'll go into it. It's 100, okay?
Additional skills. Now, in addition to that, so in addition to the Rogue's 10 core skills that I just mentioned, each and every one of them has an entirely separate skill tree letting you special.
Wait a minute now. Oh, I see a respect button up there. I see a respect button.
The skill further. So you can equip 5 skills that can be used at any given time in combat. Each of those can then be further specialized through the individual skills skill tree system. These are more than just damage multipliers, by the way, although there is that as well. In many cases, you have ways to entirely change how a skill functions. So instead of just having a game where you're playing a rogue and you've got a rogue skill tree and a rogue passive tree, this game does it a little different, where you've got skill trees for each of the skills that you're using in your build, and then picking from those individual trees.
Wait a minute. He went over the respect. Respect a point from a node will reduce the skill level by 1 if it's above your minimum skill level. If you reduce the skill to a lower level than the minimum skill level, then you can also reallocate it to the point immediately. Otherwise, you can level it back up to regain the point. Interesting.
Each of the skills that you're using in your build, and then picking from those individual trees. Then beyond those core class skills and that passive tree, there are masteries. Every single class has 3 subclasses basically called masteries, each of which then come with their own additional passive trees and skills. So as playing the rogue, I decided,
wow, there's a lot to this. There's a lot to that. You can't spell respect without respect.
To choose the Falconer Mastery, which unlocks a falcon that follows me around attacking enemies. I can then also command the falcon to strike, which will then unleash a flurry of attacks in a large area. It's basically just a...
Oh, I got it. You can't spell respect. Got it. Without respect.
A big area
Got it.
effect ability. And then
I'm with you,
as
Big
you
T.
play, you level up, you can spend points in the Falconer passive tree, specializing in unlocking additional Falconer skins, which are the Explosive Trap, Net, Aerial Assault, and the Dive Bomb. And yes, you guessed it, every one of those skills also comes with their own individual skill tree that you can further specialize them in.
Wow.
So my current build while playing as my Falconer Rogue, it basically looks like this. I've got my Falcon Strikes, which is a heavy hitting attack. I will use this basically.
I use Force Gaming as the back of the box, right? We talk about, I know this is not a review, right? This is me walking up to the shelf, picking up a box, turning it around, and reading or looking at the pictures. That's what I do with Force Gaming. Force Gaming is the guy, when I turn it over, he's showing me the back of the box of, should I buy this game or not? And that's why I like watching Force Gaming.
Whenever it's off cooldown and there's more than just a single trash mob around. Then in between that, I am constantly throwing out explosive traps, as well as using my puncture whenever the rapid strike is
Dude, it's crazy how much this looks like Diablo.
Up and available. And then I have Smoke Bomb, a defensive skill that will blind enemies and boost my haste, and a traversal skill called
Not as muddy, though. Not as muddy.
Shift for quick movement and repositioning of my character. So I'm just running around, throwing out Falcon Strikes. My Falcon is swooping in, doing damage to a wide swath. And then at the same time, I'm throwing out these explosive traps, which after a second or so, they arm and then blow up on enemies. And then machine gunning any stragglers down with my puncture attack. And then when things get hairy, I might throw down a smoke bomb or shift away from the enemies. All of this combined with just the general good feel of the game's combat has resulted in a
Gaming Fire, I like watching ACG as well.
I find quite satisfying and right there in line with other big name ARPGs that I've played. Like I said, it might not have quite the production quality of some of those higher budget games made with bigger teams, but it's close enough, and I think it feels really, really good, especially for what it is. The gameplay, it's good as far as I'm concerned. A little bit more about the game. From what I've seen through my initial playthrough, Last Epoch, it presents its campaign in a rather linear fashion. You're moving through the main story quest, going from one distinct named location to another, following these pre-established paths and zones. They're sometimes branching. You can approach an area from two different directions, but for the most part, you're moving to areas where your quest objectives are clearly marked, completing whatever your main objectives are, and then picking up side quests to do along the way. It is rather straightforward and also all pretty standard RPG fare in terms of what you're doing and how you're doing things. You know, you're killing enemies, you're interacting with objects, collecting things, finding and talking to NPCs. The game does appear to be fully voice acted as well.
Hey, nice. That was one of my questions. Was it fully voice acted? Mandalorian says, 30, are we heading towards an all digital future? Here's the thing. Not all digital future, but we're a majority digital future. The majority will be all digital, right? It'll be in the cloud, through the servers, whatever. 100%. There will always be physical media. It just will not be the majority.
The way with things like the quest dialogue, the quality of which I have thought is decent. There's also a few cutscenes here and there in the game as well. But I think what I found the most interesting about playing through Last Epoch is how the game's world is structured. They've essentially built a world and then presented it on several different timelines. So as you...
Well, that's cool. Oh, that's cool. Wait a minute. So do you jump in between the different timelines?
You play, you're moving through these different eras, which in many cases have you going through similar spaces with entirely different looks, enemies, and even structures to the environment. It is a time travel story. You're constantly going back and forth between these different eras as you unlock them, and as you move forwards or backwards, the world that you're presented with is a little bit different. I don't know how this will all culminate.
That's interesting. That's cool. Basically, service-wise, like PlayStation Plus and Game Pass, yeah, I mean, whatever. I mean, look at what our TV has turned into. How can we stay or stare at what's happening to the movie industry right now on television and cable, and then look at games and go, that's not going to happen?
As these are just first impressions. Like, again, I've not finished the game. I haven't reached max level. I'm not at end game. But up until this point, going through the campaign, how they've structured the world and its content, I have
really for sure enjoyed. It's a really cool way to reuse content.
Different come end game, no question. I'm sure you're going to be interacting with the world and these timelines quite differently, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Now, along the way, I've also come across a few really cool and interesting moments that stood out to me. Like at one point when I was inside of a cave, I could see far below inside in a ravine, there was this massive
I like that. I like the way they do stuff like that.
earth creature that was lumbering around. And then some of the backdrops on various areas like bridges and cliffs were really intriguing. In particular, one that stood out was the main town in the End of Time. You climb this floating rock bridge, and then in the background you see what I believe is a black hole or something sucking in planets. There's also a space dragon flying by, and just the setting, the backdrop, and the perspective.
I don't know if it's a black hole. I think it's just like an eclipse happening.
That it all creates. I think they've done a pretty stand-up job here. A few other early standouts from the game include some of its various systems and features. Now, I've already discussed the skill system, where every single class ability has its very own skill tree, letting you enhance but also sometimes dramatically change how those skills work. I think this is just a really interesting and good way to present this. A little bit of a mix-up from, again, the traditional fare of I pick a rogue, I've got a skill tree for my rogue, and maybe a passive tree.
What is this game repetitive? I always love when people, I know he didn't say it, but people are like, it's just repetitive. All you're doing is just killing things and then leveling up and then killing things and then getting the loot. They like to be very generalistic about everything.
Tree as well. This one says, hey, every single skill has its own skill tree, and I just like that level of tinkering that they're allowing you to do. Also, this game has an insanely thorough loot filter that lets you filter for basic.
What is that now?
Also, this game has an insanely thorough loot filter that lets
add a new loot filter, create from scratch, create a new loot filter, import existing loot filter, or paste filter from clipboard. Okay.
You filter for basically whatever you want to hide or show. It's got conditions related to item affixes.
What? Yeah, this is nice. This is nice right here. That's really nice. How is a company, how is Blizzard, the fuck are you doing? Right? Do you see what these guys are doing in a game that costs a fraction of your one cosmetic of your horse armor? For God's sakes. Like, what are we talking about here? Like, look at what this company is doing with their ARPG and what you're doing with yours. Because they can. Diablo can do whatever they want, where these guys are like, yeah, let's give them more value. This should be standard.
Class requirements, levels, rarity, and item type. You can apply up to 75 individual rules for a single filter, and then you can swap between these pre-saved filter templates that you've made, or even import filters that other players have created. This is about as thorough of a loot filter system that I've ever personally experienced in one of these games. Speaking of loot, item crafting is rather interesting. Like most ARPGs, you'll have items that drop with a random selection of stats and affixes, while last Epoch has this thing called the Forge that will let you change, swap, or upgrade the stats of any weapon or item that you find. This will be limited by an item's forging potential, which essentially represents the amount of changes you can make before you can no longer forge an item anymore. And then fueling into the system are the affix shards, which will drop. They're a resource for basically each affix in the game. You can even then, if you find items that you have good affixes, but you don't want the item itself, you can pull those affixes into individual shards and put them in your collection. And then there's also various modifiers for runes and support glyphs that further enhance the system. It sounds really complex, but let me tell you, I'm not the most complex person, and I got the hang of it after not too long. I understood the system after just tinkering it.
Versus, as long as they let me build my character how I want, I'm fine with it. As soon as they start nerfing my character because he is too strong, I'm done. Are they nerfing stuff first, or are you just saying that? Argus says you could do a super in-depth last Epoch's loot filter, Mike. Best out there, from what I've heard. And Altern says, but 30. We can't make this without spending $30 on a skin. It's impossible to Blizzard. They're the indies that needs funding versus microtransaction. Yeah, it's mind-boggling to me. It's mind-boggling to me of the amount of horse shit that comes out of these AAA studios' mouths, right? Well, games have to be $70. We have to have pre-orders. We have to have microtransactions. We have to have a battle pass. We have to have all this stuff. We just have to. We got to keep the lights on. We got to keep the lights on. Maybe if you stopped overpaying for everything and everyone brought their shit together, right? If you can make a company, I don't know. How big is this company? I don't know. I can't look right now because of my monitor is being taken over, right? But how is it
for a little while, and I think it's
that they can make a game like this? Took them 5 years, right? How can an independent studio make a game that's better than the AAA game? That's just amazing. What, you don't have phones?
Well done. It's a good way to present crafting and item enhancement in your ARPG. And then in addition to the basic paper doll loot that you equip, your basic armor pieces and weapons, they've also got this system of idols that provide additional power boost, and you arrange these in this like Tetris style tile box. They've got an in-game guide with a search function that lets you basically search for anything related to skills, items, craft.
Right, Water? Make a game. That make part is the passionate and love and tender care that goes into their game, and it looks like these guys have done it.
Crafting, combat ailments, and the end game system of factions and monolith system. Basically, this is instead of having to tab out of the game and check out a wiki if you're looking for details about various aspects of it, they've built all of that into the game. Love to see it. And then just recently we came across dungeons. Although I don't fully understand them, it does appear to be a little bit more than the traditional dungeon structure of clear ads and then kill a boss. While you are doing that, there's also some things in the mix, like you need a specific key to enter the dungeons. They will have multiple tiers of different.
Do I have to purchase the keys from an online store? Or do I have to buy a microtransaction to get into the dungeon?
difficulty, and then have unique mechanics, like the Lightless Arbor dungeon has this flame that buffs you, and as you move around, you use a basically dungeon ability key for it, and this is used to clear your paths and do extra damage to enemies. You can also take a lot more damage if you aren't in the light or something. The dungeon is broken up into several sections, each section having its own different debuffs, like taking extra damage, and then yes, you do have a boss at the end, because I guess it wouldn't be a dungeon without one. Again, don't quite fully understand the system, just recently came across it, but it does seem interesting from what I have seen. And frankly, that is just some of what I've liked so far. Really, I just wanted this video to be me getting my general thoughts on the game, because like I said at the top, this was a really, really nice, pleasant surprise. So you might assume, hey Force, if this game's looking good and sounding good, everything's smooth sailing, right? Well, not exactly. So it has been quite popular. The game seems to have picked up. It's reached recently nearly 200,000 concurrent players, which is rather insane and rather significantly above its prior all-time peak from a few years back, which was 40,000 concurrent players. It seems like releasing out of early access into 1.0 with all the positive word of mouth, lots of people were interested in.
So I have a question. Is it still in early access? It's just 1.0 build, or is it officially released?
And checking out this game. That is really, really impressive for an indie RPG to be.
Like, what's the difference, to be honest with you? What's the difference between early, beta, alpha, preview? There is nothing. There's no difference, right? It was an early access, and they were updating it the entire time, and now it's 1.0, and now they're updating it as they go, right?
Hitting near 200,000. By the time you watch this video, they might have surpassed that, or maybe not. We'll see, because it hasn't exactly been smooth sailing. While the general sentiment around the game itself has been positive, they have been having some massive issues with the servers being overloaded, resulting in frequent disconnects, but probably even more frequent is what you're seeing is long loading time between zones. I've seen
is that still happening?
Memes talking about this. You'll basically constantly be zoning into and out of areas between towns and different combat arenas and story arenas. This happens fairly frequently, and sometimes the time between going from one zone to the next can be many, many seconds, many even minutes at a time. I think I've waited upwards of like 5 minutes loading just from a town into the zone just outside of the town, and all of this is related to the strain that the servers are currently under.
I have a question. What is the point of playing online if you can play offline? What are the benefits of playing online? Is it just playing with friends? Is it like a shared auction house or something? Like, what is happening in the game that you have to be online for?
And it's one of those things where they're kind of suffering from success. People are enjoying this game. Lots of people are jumping in to check it out. But as a result, the online experience for the people that are wanting to play this game hasn't exactly been great. We've seen this time and time again with games that require an online connection and have an abundance of players right at launch. It almost seems like it happens more times than not.
Ah, okay. So there's an online character and an offline character. So if you want to play offline, you play offline. But if you want to play online and you can't play online, then you have to make a second character offline. So if you want to play online, you're online. If you want to play offline, you're offline. But you have to play two different characters. Got it.
Not in these sort of circumstances. However, in last Epoch's defense, they do have the off-requested but not always included offline mode, and that is actually what I've spent about half of my time over these past few days playing. While the servers have been a mess, while connectivity and disconnects and long time loading between zones have been prevalent, I've just been going to offline mode and then basically juggling back and forth. While it has hindered my progress on each of the characters because I'm not dedicated to just offline or not dedicated to just online, I'm nevertheless enjoying playing the game. I think the core of the game is good, the foundation is good. I've really enjoyed what I've seen thus far. No, I've not finished it. No, I've not reached endgame. No, I'm not max level. This isn't an all-encompassing review by any means, but again, I was pleasantly surprised. I really, really am enjoying this. It's just as the words imply, it's been a pleasant surprise, and I'm happy to continue to jump in.
I wonder if it's a pleasant surprise because it's a smaller studio and just the amount of polish in the game. You know what I mean?
Keep playing, and at this point we're just hoping that things smooth out, that the server issues get resolved, and that people can just enjoy playing the game,
right? Like, what's the see, this is the problem with us as gamers, right? Like Blizzard, when they make the next Diablo, we have expectations because there's other Diablos ahead of it, right? The last Epoch, there's no expectations. The expectations you have for the last Epoch is that this is the standard of ARPGs, and they've hit that mark, and now they've surpassed it. So now your expectations are like, holy shit. Now your expectations of this company have grown. Your expectations of the other companies have shrunken. And then if Last Epoch is very successful and they come out with Last Epoch 2, now your expectations are like, dude, they hit this, they need to hit this, right? So I think someone going into this thinking really nothing, just like, wow, they're blown away because it's an independent company. Krebsy says some sources say 2020, they had 40 to 60 employees. Other sources don't give a date. They say 50 to 200. So who knows? Interesting.
And without having to wait 5 minutes going from one
zone
to the next.
Yeah, the outline on the map, so it shows you that you haven't seen it yet.
We'll see what happens in the coming days and weeks. I hope things do improve for the time being. I'm just as happy to play offline mode, but I know not everyone, that's not for everyone, right? Some people, they just want to play online. They just want to progress one character. They want to play that character with their friends. They want to do trading. And so offline mode isn't the solution for everyone, but I'm very happy that it is here. And all of this, and probably the cherry on top of this, is you get all of this in a package that costs less than a Diablo 4 mount.
The fact that that's a statement is fucking nuts. You can get Diablo you can get a game that's better than Diablo, the newest Diablo, for less than their goddamn mount in that game. Is insane. And yet corporations keep telling me that's got to be $70. If you want good quality games, it's got to be $70 AAA $70 game.
Can't beat it. $35 is the price of Last Epoch. Now, they do have cosmetic microtransactions in the game, but I have seen nothing pertaining to pay to win.
They do have cosmetics, but it's just, there's no battle pass. Are they adding a battle pass? Are they doing anything to it?
Or pay to progression. It seems like it is just exclusively cosmetic. Either way, though, that's a nice entry price for what seems to be a pretty darn competent and well put together ARPG. I'm really enjoying it thus far. I'll keep you guys updated. Maybe we do a follow-up video, maybe more of a thorough and full review, but a few days in, I'm having a heck of a time, and I just kind of wanted to share that with you. Bear in mind, this upcoming weekend, probably going to be a mess. I don't expect the server issues to resolve as we move into Saturday and Sunday. Hopefully come early next week, though, things do start to get better. But at its core foundation, the game itself, Last Epoch, seems pretty darn good, and that makes me pretty darn happy. That does it for today. Thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed. I'll see you next time. Take it easy.
Cool. Yeah, man. That's some good stuff. I'm well more sold on that game now. That's for sure. I'm definitely probably going to pick that up. Again, I don't know if I'm going to pick it up sooner rather than later, but definitely going to pick it up. Thanks, Blizzard. Spend $90. Only played it for like 12 hours. I mean, I got my time into Diablo. I got 168 hours into it. But the fact that a company that's making their first ARPG does a better job than people that have been making the ARPG for 20 years, kind of, great for them. Sad for these guys. It's just ridiculous, though. It's ridiculous that you could buy this game for $35, and that's a little less than half the price, okay, of a mount.
Last Epoch is part 1. Path of Exile 2 is part 2.
Right. What a great starting point for Last Epoch, right? You'll love it. Nice in-depth gameplay. Found its niche in between Diablo and Path of Exile. So it's not as complicated as Path of Exile, but it's better than Diablo. I mean, we played Lost Ark. We put about 100 and something hours into that. We played Diablo. Put almost 200 hours into that. Not as complicated and deeper than D4. Oh, for sure, Paul. For sure. Competition is great for all businesses, for all things. Right? Just think about it on a small scale of you're playing soccer by yourself in a park. And you're a good soccer player, right? But you have no one to go up against. You're just good at juggling the ball. But you don't really have any competition to go against. So you're just as good. You think you're the best. But then all of a sudden, another kid comes on the playground. And all of a sudden, he starts to elevate you because you see that he's good. And then you want to compete. Okay? So you compete. And then each person, even though you're against each other, is making each other better. Because now you're learning, right? You're making yourself better as you are. Same thing goes with video games. Same thing goes with anything. You have to have competition to make your stuff better. Otherwise, you become just satisfying yourself. You're just like, yeah, I'm the best. I'm the best on this playground. Well, go to another playground. Play other people on another playground. See how good you are against other people. Not as complicated. Nuclear physics is less complicated than Path of Exile. Last Epoch is the middle ground between Diablo and Path of Exile. Would you say that Last Epoch is like the gateway drug to Path of Exile? Because I've tried to play Path of Exile multiple times, and I just can't get into it. Is Last Epoch going to feel like that? Oh, here's a story. Sony has reportedly canceled an unannounced Twisted Metal live service game as part of today's massive layoffs. There you go. There was one of those live service games was that part of the 6 or was that part of the 12? Sabbath also good. It could just be regular Twisted Metal game. No, it says live service. It says Sony reported canceled Twisted Metal live service game as part of the mass layoff. Here's the thing I don't understand, right? I'm not going to talk about the story. I'm not going to bring it up. Gigantica. Remember that game that was out 6 years ago that bombed because Overwatch overtook that and a lot of games got closed down during that point? Why the hell is it coming back? Do they feel like 6 years later this is a better area to come back in? And they're charging like $20 now. I'm about to buy Gigantica. Never played it. I played it when it came out. It was a fun game. But at the same time, it failed. So now they're coming back out. Why? Do they think all of a sudden now it's going to be successful? Paul says it's coming back because people have been asking for it. Paid $20 and 0 microtransactions now. Okay. I hope it does well. It's a more crowded gaming space now than it was 6 years ago, so we'll see. I'll show you what it is. I'll show you what it is. I'll turn. I literally played it 6 years ago. This game came out. It was a MOBA game, basically. Yeah, it's a MOBA. It was fun. I just don't see, like, they're like, you know, it's going to be a big hit now. Got drowned out 6 years ago. This game's going to make a comeback. But just in case it doesn't, let's charge $20. We shall see. It just didn't get a foothold last time it was out. It's very strange. Well, here's another story, and again, this is from Twitter. Don't take it for reality yet. Just reading it doesn't mean it's true. Okay, it says reports saying multiple PlayStation first-party games have been canceled. London Studios' online co-op title is one of the canceled games. So that's another online co-op game that's being canceled. I don't think it's going to blow up, but now that people they wanted it, it can play. Well, we'll see. How many people do you think wanted it? Couple thousand? Couple 100,000? I mean, there's a lot of games I would like to see, right? You think they're going to bring back Anthem? Right? A lot of people want Anthem. Are they going to bring that back? Argus says, problem is people think they want live service games until they realize they usually comes along with them. As much tense. Yeah, see, I don't think live service games are bad. I think the way live service games are done are bad. But the games that are live service are not bad. Here's a tweet, because someone earlier said that London Studios doesn't really mean anything for Sony. They haven't done anything. So here's a tweet of just showing, because this is the studio that made these games, and someone's going to be like, well, nobody played these games, which is fine. But that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19... 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35. 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53. 53 games from 2002 to present day. But they've done nothing. Apparently, they've done nothing. Right? That's what someone said earlier. They've been around for 22 years. And those are all shitty games? Shitty games to you, Rose. It's still a company that was in business for 22 years. That's the real thing, Paul. Bad management once again. That's right. Correct, Paul. If this was a Microsoft thing, it'd be Microsoft's fault. Right? But it's a Sony thing. No, it's a shitty company. They didn't make any really game. They didn't make any good games. Hey, it's Microsoft's fault. Yeah, Water. It's Microsoft's fault. I always felt like Epic couldn't make a Paragon work. I doubt fans with less budget could. I'm not sure. Passion goes a really long way. Island. Passion goes a really long way. There's people that make what Bethesda can't make, and there's a much smaller team that made a better game than what Bethesda did for Fallout games and stuff like that. So you'll be very surprised on what people could do when they're passionate and love something. Right. Fans don't have an overhead. They just do what they want to do. They do what they can do. I'm trying to see if there's anything else that happened while we were talking this morning. Hello Games is hiring for all roles. Independent studio, small team, fantasy dragons, science fiction spaceships, and making innovative things. So Hello Games right now is hiring. Goth replied to Sean Murray's post and said, "Can I work remote? I like to apply for best friend position." Everything I wish Diablo was. Glorious Loot. What's that? Nope, that's. You guys posted in Discord the game sent has been announced. Can you imagine playing Division 2 with game sent? What does your room smell like? Rotten flesh? Like, what scent is that going to be? Just run around. Let me tell you something. I worked on some shows with My Obese Life and shit like that. With like, let me tell you something. And Hoarders. You're lucky there wasn't smell-o-vision. Because the ratings would be down. Okay? Because you wouldn't want to smell that. Dead or alive beach volleyball. Yeah, it'd be rotten flesh with a spring of ocean water coming at you. Okay, so it says the AI released real sense alongside your gameplay, including smells of gunfire, explosions, racing, storm, and forest. Upgrade DLC sense include napalm, human, oh god, ocean, and golf course. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. You can keep your scent of smell. It has to be BS? Maybe. I wouldn't put it past anybody. Water. Black Tusk Musk. The smell of just sweaty people in a suit that haven't showered in months and years. We have a thing at Epcot called Soarin'. And when you like fly over California, like orange groves, you'll smell like the oranges. Or if you fly over the ocean, you'll smell the ocean or the forest, the winter. It's cool for that. But I don't want to be in my house, and I gotta like, where do you go? Like, what do you do? Do you buy one of those vests that have the little puncture thing? So when I get shot playing Call of Duty or something, I feel like I'm being shot. You know what I mean? Like, how far are you taking it? Like, before I game, I don't want to be able to, like, suit up and then light an incense, right, to smell like certain things as I'm going through. Like, I don't know. I just want to sit down and play games. It doesn't need to be complicated for me. Did you put the scents in there for... All right, what are we playing tonight? Well, we're playing Division 2, and we're going to the rotten flesh area. So I got this new vial of rotten flesh I'm going to put in my scent thing. Fortnite is introducing family-friendly Lego Island with 2 new ones available today. Lego Raft Survival and Lego Obey Fun? So what are they doing? Fortnite introduces family-friendly Lego Islands with Raft Survival. Okay, so they've added some new game modes into Fortnite. Interesting. All right. Couple announcements real fast. I reached out to our next guest. I thought it was going to be next week, but it's going to be this week. Got back to me really fast. So I have a podcast tomorrow evening with Jay Shockblast. He said he would come on the show and talk. So we're going to get to know Jay Shockblast a little bit. Find out, where he started and how he made his YouTube, adventure. Going from what he was to what he is and everything like that. So Jay Shockblast will be on the podcast tomorrow evening, sitting down with me, having a conversation. So that'll be fun. So it'll be cool to have him on the show. Tomorrow or tonight, we're going to be playing either more Helldivers or we'll play something. Maybe we'll play more Helldivers tonight. So if you guys want to play, we'll finish out the Helldivers missions that we did last night that we didn't finish. And then tomorrow morning, more gaming news, more conversations. I appreciate it very much. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you'd like to go above and beyond that. You become a member as little as $5. My goal this year is to have 5,000 subscribers by the end of 2024. I think we're on a good pace as of right now. I appreciate it very much, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching. Peace.